Hi everybody, welcome back. It's July 27th, 2022, and today we're on Mars. And this is a picture of what has become known as the buttes. And there are several buttes, and the Curiosity rover has trundled up and down and gone in and around and through and around all of these buttes, leaving us some really incredible pictures. Now, most people would at first look at these pictures and say, well, these are just buttes, just like we see in the southwestern United States. But absolutely that is not true. Here is an example of one. This is just one of what is a vessel laying on its side. And this is true of all of the buttes. They are nothing more than artificial debris of crashed or downed vessels of one kind or another, or many different ones. And this picture here is just of this one. Just wanted to give you this one example here. And it's obviously not natural, right? And triangular is the shape that gets mentioned over and over and over again, because the vast majority of all of the large vessels that they used are triangular. And I'm speaking rather matter-of-factly, aren't I? And this comes as a result of years of, and many thousands of hours of poring over these pictures and educating myself. So the things I say, I realize sound completely crazy, but the video record that I have on my channel will prove it out that what I'm saying is true. And it's surprising how many pictures I'd gone back and looked at that I haven't looked at for a couple of years, and have found even more stuff than what I found back then. It's because I've become educated and I can spot these things. And everything we're looking at, this area right here, this whole area, as we're looking at the top again of a slanted vessel that is deteriorating because they're many millions of years old. I don't know how many millions, but several million for sure. And this is the very first butte that I looked at back in the day. And this picture right here coming up is the picture that made me, well, fall off my stool, right? It was stunning and amazing, and I never expected ever to find anything like this on Mars. But here it is. This is the first butte that I looked at, and this is what I found. And this looks like an aircraft on the left with what looks like a ICBM missile laying on the top. And then on the right is another vessel with an engine sticking up. Now, these vessels that we see on Mars are very frequently paired up. So you very frequently find a large one with a smaller one on the back. I call it a parasite vessel. And this goes from the smallest to really very super huge. And I don't think we're going to talk about super huge in this video, but there are instances of super huge, of entire mountainsides. If you look at this, you can see the remains of the triangular shape, wider on the right side and get skinnier on the left. Now, just to the right of that missile and that vessel with the engine sticking up is another item here sticking up that caught my attention. And at first I thought it was, it looked like some kind of a, like a cartoon laser or something, but it is not. It's yet another downed vessel. And these are just the ones that are on the top. There are probably many thousands of various kinds of vessels that are all compressed down into these buttes. And which brings us to one of the biggest questions is why is it that so many of these vessels are all gathered up and smashed down in these buttes? Don't understand that part of it at all. But here they are. And the fact that these buttes are made up of down vessels becomes really abundantly clear when you see what is sticking out the sides of the buttes. But none of this looks natural, not even slightly. And all of this stuff, everything you see here is all debris. You know, you got to wonder about all this stuff laying around out here. Where did it all come from? Now here's a side angle of the butte, and this one has, like all the others, a bunch of stuff sticking out of the side. And it's very obvious, to me anyway, that this is nothing, none of this is natural. It's not even close to natural. So, as usual, you know, what we find is always amazing, but it always brings up more questions. So, this was a war. No doubt this was a war, and all of these vessels came down from above, whether they were in the atmosphere or above the atmosphere, I don't know. But there was a tremendous amount of stuff that came down. And in fact, I have been known to say, and I stand by it, that everything that Curiosity rover looked at and everything that Curiosity rover rolled over the top of was all man-made material. Man-made material, the entire thing. There's no rocks here, and there's no ground, because everything is covered with metal. Metal debris, whether it's large chunks or the remains of hull material. There's just tons of it. And you look at this area right in front here in the middle of the screen, a little to the left. I mean, how do those big chunks of things, where does that all come from? There's no mountain for it to roll down, you know. This stuff is just here because it is, it's all debris. It's all debris. Now in the back here, what we're looking at in the center of the screen towards the top is the hollowed out remains of a flying fuselage. We find many, many flying fuselages in the buttes. This is just one example. And the thing sticking out to the left of it is what I think is a portable belt for, you know, like a conveyor belt. Here is the remains of a decimated triangular craft, and up above that is another long flying fuselage type vessel that's bent and deteriorating. But look at all these chunks of stuff. By the way, on the very left of the screen you can see that flying fuselage. That's where we just left. But look at all this stuff here. I mean, there's just junk everywhere. And along the bottom here, and along the bottom of the screen, this gold area is all metal debris, all this gold stuff, and it stretches out everywhere. And in fact, when you see different pictures of panoramics, you find this material literally covering the ground for square miles. Miles and miles. There's all different kinds of hull debris that we'll find, but that's right now, this is what we have in this picture, a lot of this gold metal debris. And much of the metal, all of the metal that we've found in the butte, so when the sun hits it right, is always in a gold and silver color. And you can see this gold stuff going from the left of this picture all the way to the right. It's all metal debris. There is nothing natural here at all. And if you haven't been watching my videos and I say these things, it sounds preposterous. I understand that. However, it's on record. And if you wanted to go back and start with the original video of this area called, what was it called? Unprecedented Wreckage. Nobody had ever seen pictures like that before. Now here is the side of the vessel, and it's got a big hole in it. It's obviously not just hillside. You have a lot of hull material that's still hanging on and dangling that eventually is going to come down. And these vessels are condensed. They've been flattened. So the floors that people lived on and worked on have been very thoroughly flattened over time, whether it was over time or whether it was when they hit the ground. I cannot imagine what it was like the day that everything that was in the sky came down. It must have been something else. Here's another vessel. This one's attached to something. Was probably attached to another vessel, which is so typical. And this shape is, the tail of this thing has been seen many times on different vessels. It has such a sort of a dovetail shape to it. A very interesting look on the back of it there. But these things, when I found these things originally, I couldn't believe it. And it was just the beginning, everybody. And all of this material, all of these things that are here, which are ancient, truly make everything else possible. If I come to you and say, have pictures of the moon and say, look, we're covered with buildings, and the moon's a little different story, but I've shown many cities on Mars, and you might think all that is just completely ridiculous and impossible. But if you go back and look at these pictures, then you will know that many millions of years ago there was a war. And that means people were alive there, right? They were ETs. This is what we've been looking for. This is proof of ET. Now, again, this is all wreckage, but they lived, they've moved on, and the planet is alive and well. And these pictures prove to you that there was an existence there. You can't mistake these vessels or any of these things as pixels or, too far zoomed in or whatever you want to say. These are unto themselves, they present themselves, and they are there, and they are not image artifacts, and they are not affected in any way by the image itself, by the projection of the image. So here's another triangular vessel, just pieces broken, and this shape is repeated so many times throughout the buttes. I know people got sick and tired of me talking about triangular this and triangular that, but these triangular vessels go from very small, like I don't know for sure, but like a small yacht, all the way to, believe it or not, many miles long. You need to think about these things like Star Wars, okay? The great big huge fleets of giant triangular vessels, that's what we have on Mars. I think I just can't help but to believe that people who made movies like Star Wars and Independence Day had some sort of knowledge of what's really up there, because those vessels and the size of them all hit the nail on the head. It's the surprising part to me really is the size. Some of these things are just really massive, and this one here that we were just looking at is pretty small. I don't know how big, but certainly not miles long. It's all this debris again. Where does all that come from, right? It didn't just, if there were a mountainside here, all that stuff could have rolled down from the mountain, but there's just a hill here, we'll call it. And sure, some of this stuff can come off the top and off the sides, but when all this debris, this large debris, is so far away from the butte itself, how did it get there? Well, it landed there when everything busted up and came down out of the sky. And here's some other stuff sticking out the other side of this butte. Again, we don't know what it is. We just know it's debris, and it's always a safe bet to just say that it's broken up vessels, or crushed vessels, or just vessels. And we're going to move farther to the right, to the buttes over on the right. But I couldn't help, I had to take a look at this artwork going on here. This phony baloney sand. It looks like paint by the numbers, something my grandma would have had on the wall at her house. A terrible, ridiculous job there. And then all this debris right in the front here in the picture is all metal, more metal debris. When the sun hits it, it just absolutely glows. And this is just another vessel here of some kind, obviously broken, and more debris, and then more debris in the background there, some things sticking up. And again, you can see the metal, top right, the gold and the silver. Everything here is metal, and it's all debris, and it's so old. Thanks for watching, everybody.